And good evening, everybody. Jack Benedict here. We welcome you to the Hilton Garden Inn and Hawk Talk. We've got Coach Paul Tortorella with us. We've got questions for the coach tonight. We've got information for you, and a big weekend coming up with football, basketball, field hockey, the whole thing. We'll throw it all in this evening. We're glad to be with you each and every Monday throughout the football, and eventually, once we get deep into basketball, we'll have the basketball season too, all coming your way as we talk IUP athletics. Coach, it was a great day all the way around last week. The score, of course, 45-0. You guys came out, solidified it right away. The atmosphere, the band situation, the alumni. You couldn't ask for anything more, and the sun was out.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. A little windy, but great crowd. I mean, couldn't ask for a better crowd. We've had great crowds for every home game. I think other than Slippery Rock, we've had great weather. We played well. The seniors, had a nice day. So it was a good day overall.
Yeah, 14 seniors getting honored. And you got off to a really good start. Clarion fumbles the ball. Connor Kelly recovers it, and you're on your way in. So there was no question of coming back after the Gannon loss that this team was ready to play.
Yeah, I think we are ready to play. I think seniors, that helped being senior day. We wanted to get back on track, wanted to get off to a fast start. A couple, 2 or 3 things we wanted to really improve on. We got done Saturday. We ran the ball a lot better than we have. We got off the field on third down, and we didn't give up many big plays. I think they had a 22-yard pass and a 14-yard run, and that was it. Defense got another shutout. And I thought offensively, we ran it really well, but we also threw it good, which is we've done most of the year. Got a lot of guys involved in the pass game. A lot of different guys caught balls. So, did a good job protecting. We didn't take any sacks. So, overall, and I thought the kicking game we did really well too. We had a good day in the kicking game.
Was there any way to tell during the course? Is there ever any way to tell during the course of a work week, a practice week, if the team is ready? Sometimes you don't even know. Maybe even before kickoff.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, some guys go by warm up, and when you see warm up, if they, I've been around where the terrible warm up and your team plays great warm-up and your team plays terrible. So, but I thought we were really ready to play. I think, our team was a little upset, going on the road and losing, and, they weren't in a real good mood all week, which was good.
They were in a football mood,
right? I
guess you could say. We're going to run some highlights here. We start out early and after. You got the start, you got the lead, and so on. Mac Sexton and Dwayne Brown, again, what a great combination they are. Second quarter, they came up with a pass play. We've got it here, 18-yarder that Mac hit in that far or left corner, just enough room. Dwayne's there, makes the catch. It may be old stuff, but it's still new, and it's so much fun to watch, isn't it?
Well, we're gonna, if we get a one-on-one with any of our receivers and with our quarterback, we're gonna take it. So if you're gonna play them one-on-one, we're gonna test you. I think we were maybe 8 for 10 in one-on-one situations last week. We threw a couple back shoulders, and they pressed us, and they actually played them pretty good. But everything else, I'll tell you, we did a good job. We had some drops Saturday that's unlike, like Hilton dropped 2 balls, and he never drops balls. But the one thing we did do is we did a great job after the catch. We made a lot of guys miss, and we broke a lot of tackles with our receivers. And our run game did the same. We had over 200 yards rushing, but the thing that showed up was our yardage after the catch. We threw a couple just now passes out to both Hilton and Dwayne, and the first guy didn't make the tackle. So that's what you're looking for.
And you really, I think you alluded to it a moment ago, had great balance, 256 rushing, 226 passing. It was so good to see that DeJour was back, Stewart. He had a big game. and he had a couple of touchdowns there. We want to run the 25-yarder where he cruised around the side. I say cruised, easy for me to say, but he's a welcome back, and I think you mentioned he's got fresh legs there after being out for a week down the sideline.
Yeah, we got on the perimeter pretty good with our run game outside with our outside zone. We're doing a good job on the edge, with our tight ends and our wide outs blocking. It's another thing, I thought our wide outs did a pretty good job with downfield blocking too on Saturday, and I thought all three running backs ran the ball well, DeJour, Hauser, and Younger. So, and even Sirianni had over 40 yards on that last drive. So, we blocked well, protected the quarterback, and didn't turn it over. So that was a good combination.
You brought that up about the wideouts blocking, and we hadn't really talked much about that during the course of the year. Have you been pretty much satisfied with that for the year?
We've got, first of all, Ridley's a good blocker because he's so big. He's pretty physical. Irvin Charles was a lot like that. Dwayne will go in there and block you. Carter's a great blocker, but he's been hurt. Hauser's a little smaller and needs to improve in his blocking. Some of the other guys that we get in there, Debner and Mumford and some of those other guys, Labuda, they work hard at blocking too downfield. We run a lot of outside zones, so to make that work, you got to have perimeter blocking downfield with your receivers.
Mm-hmm. Couple of other highlights in the game itself. You brought up Terry Mumford. Mm-hmm. First of all, tell us his story. He's been with the program. He practices all the time. He's special teams and so on. Mm-hmm. Here's another program player who's really done it all for you for a number of years that goes unnoticed.
Well, he's great for IUP in general. I mean, he came in here out of the city, inner city of Philly, playing in the city league there. He had been on the scout team for 3 years. Last year he started to play some on the special teams. He's doing a great job on our special teams this year. But like I said to the team today, he's probably played maybe 25 offensive plays in his whole career here. But he's like the happiest guy in the world. He's a great practice player. We were really happy to see him score the touchdown. He's just a positive influence. Everybody on the team loves him. He loves IUP football. He's going to have his degree in December. He didn't start off great academically, but he turned it around, and now he's going to get his degree this December. But he's a joy to be around. Really, he really is.
Well, you mentioned the touchdown, so he gets a touchdown catch and the exuberance and all. We have that on a highlight here for you. Terry Mumford catching a touchdown pass. Oh, we don't have it. Okay. Well, I can tell you that the thrill that I saw as he's coming off, and the way the team reacts to it.
They were probably happier than he was, to be honest with you. He's a very selfless player. I mean, it's hard being on a scout team for 3 years now.
Oh my!
So this year he's worked his way into the 2 deep, so he's not on the scout team, and he's a really good special teams player for us. So he knows his role. He's putting his hand in the pile, so to speak, and he's helping us win games. But he's a winner.
This is the ultimate team game. Football's been talked about. Coaches tell us all the time. Players know that. So you have a relative on your team who makes a play, Joey Tortorella.
Right.
Yeah, we do have that on video, on replay. Deflected pass, up in the air it goes, and he comes up with the interception. Got it here, John? Yeah, here we go. There's in and out of the hands, everybody going for it. And number 43 comes up with it.
That ball was in the air, it seemed like it was like a lapse in time. Yeah. I mean, that thing was in the air forever. And the teammates were really happy there. There was 4 or 5 guys that, probably if the ball would have went in a little bit different direction, it could have had. It was a good play by McCaskill. He's the reason it happened with the breakup. But it was good to see Joe get an interception and made a couple tackles on special teams. So, he's done a good job for us. He's a special teams player and great team guy. We treat, obviously, him like you'd never know he was my nephew. He gets treated the same as everybody else.
Well, I was going to bring that up, because...
probably a little harder on him than regular players, to be honest with you.
That's what players say when they play for their dad or their uncle or someone. So, they were really tougher on me than the other guys.
Yeah, so it was good to see him get an interception there. I was happy for him.
Well, I think it was great, too. The fact of the matter is with the score, you had the big score and everything. This allowed you... for another
we
week.
Played a lot of players.
Yes.
A lot of players, and got to rest some guys. That's important. You play 10-game, 11-game season. Now you get into the PSAC Championship and possibly the playoffs, and it gets to be a long year. And it's good when, you only have to play your starters 35, 40 plays. And I think defensively, our second group ended up playing over 20 plays on defense, so our starters only played like 30, 32 plays on defense. And then offensively, midway through the third quarter, we put our second group in there on offense. And they've done a great job, when we've put them in there, at Shippensburg, at Edinburgh, they did a good job. Against Seton Hill at home, they did a really good job. You don't want the game to turn into a 3-and-out, and then you're punting every time, and then you're going out there and playing defense the whole second half. But our second offense has done a very good job of moving the ball and scoring points. Like Horn is, I don't know what his stats are, but I think he's like 8 for 10 passing, and he hit another switch route with Labuda. That's his combination. That's another play that looked like it took 6 days for it to run, but it worked out.
It worked, yeah. Logan Horn and company. All right, we come back, we're going to talk about, of course, the championship coming up this week. Shepherd number 1, IUP number 3 in the region. We have those rankings for you. We'll tell you about that a little bit. The championship game at George P. Miller Stadium and Frank Signetti Field is 3 o'clock coming up on Saturday, so we'll get into that and we'll talk about other things here. We call it Hawk Talk. Coach Paul Tortorella with us. We're live each and every Monday here from 6 to 7 at the beautiful Hilton Garden Inn. We'll be back in just a moment on U92radio.com, and you can catch us on all 4 of our Facebook pages.
C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn is this area's best-kept secret. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, or for their post-game specials. Make your reservations for C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn at chfields.com. The Hilton Garden Inn is the preferred hotel of IUP Athletics. Located next to Miller Stadium and the KCAC, the Hilton Garden Inn is Indiana's newest and best hotel. Make your reservations today at hiltongardeninn.com.
Come join us in celebrating our grandfather Red Dowd's induction into the Indiana County Business Hall of Fame.
To celebrate, we can't think of anything better than to combine 2 of Dowd's most popular sales.
To honor his legacy and celebrate our 72nd anniversary, we're offering up to 72% off selected floor sample clearance items. Plus, save on all custom orders with every other item up to 1/2 off.
Come celebrate with us, Dowd's of Plumville and Dowd's of Greensburg.
Show your IUP. Welcome back, everybody. Hawk Talk coming to you live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Coach Paul Tortorella with us. Fans want to know, Coach, give us an update on the injury situation. Guys, some of them banged up in the last game, where we are now at the beginning of the week.
I think we'll have everybody that played Saturday for the game. A couple guys will miss a couple days of practice. Vaughn Wallace didn't play last Saturday. He'll still be questionable for this Saturday. But everybody that was playing Saturday should be available for us this Saturday. Like I said, a couple guys may not practice a couple days. And in some cases, a couple of these guys have played a lot of football, and they probably need the rest, to be honest with you. We lost, obviously, our defensive end for the season, and Lockhart, the one wide out for the season, which were 2 big blows. And we've been fairly healthy. In some games we haven't. We went to Gannon. We had a couple guys down, but we should have everybody available this Saturday. except maybe Vaughn Wallace. He's probably the only one that would be questionable going into the game.
Well, I know, the fans interested in Dwayne Brown came out. You didn't have to put him back in. Of course, J.D. Younger, now, it looked a little more severe.
He practiced a little bit today, actually. I didn't know if he would, but he practiced a little bit today. Darian Woody, that came in late in the game, had a severe foot injury, so he's a special teams player. He won't be available. And like I said, Vaughn Wallace still may be out another week with a high ankle sprain.
It was great to get DeJour Stewart back in.
Right.
And Maurice Fazell.
Correct.
How big a difference does he make on that defensive line for you?
Well, he's a lot like Fowler in regards to a very good pass rusher, can get up the field, edge presence, probably a little more athletic than some of our other defensive ends. So, he had been playing great, up until being injured, I believe, against Seton Hill. So we missed him at Gannon, but he played Saturday and played well. Stewart, who was suspended for a week, came back last week, and he looked pretty fresh. He looked really fast out there, because the week off was the week off. He had nothing to do with football. He wasn't allowed to lift. He didn't practice. He was suspended, for the whole week and had no football activity whatsoever. So, I think, like I said, the main injuries are the main injuries. We got, some pretty good depth across the board. So it was like last week we weren't sure Gerald Comedy would play, and he played, and then we got him out of there early in the third quarter. So I think by the end of the week we should have, everybody ready to go except maybe Vaughn Wallace.
It's hard to figure. I don't know if there's an answer to this or not when you see teams match up against teams. So IUP handled Edinburgh pretty well.
Right.
So last week Edinburgh plays Slippery Rock, and they throw this scare that they must have really played well. Right down near the end, the Rock had to pull. How do you figure? Is this league better this year? The division better?
I think matchups come into play. How your style of play compared to the other team's style of play, that plays a factor. Who you played the week before. It's like Ashland. I know they're not in our league. They had two really tough games 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago. Well, last week they played a 500 Hillsdale team on the road and got beat pretty good, because they played two really tough games before then. Not really quite sure about Slippery Rock. Slippery Rock's been actually going into the Edinburgh game. They've probably been playing as good as anybody in the league since our game. So I was a little surprised that, Edinburgh can do that now. I mean, there's, most of the teams in this league can upset you if they play very well and you don't play very well. So, I mean, there's a lot of games that end up, like that Slippery Rock Edinburgh game. Slippery Rock kind of at the end won the game in the fourth quarter. But that was a tie score going into the fourth quarter. So it's matchups, it's injuries. There's a lot of different factors. The comparing scores, I've learned a long time ago, it really is useless to do. It really is.
Just forget it.
Yeah, I really don't even compare scores. It's just matchups, different teams, home, away, weather sometimes. There's so many different factors that it's hard to, it's like Edinburgh. We played Edinburgh and beat them pretty handily, okay? They go to Clarion the next week. Clarion's playing great at that time. I think they had won 2 in a row. Edinburgh had lost 3 in a row. They went to Clarion and beat them by 4 touchdowns. So, you just don't know.
Well, I'm going to stay on the Edinburgh thing against Shepherd. So, Bajent, he passed for under 200 yards, 189 against the Borough. Everything else he's going 2, 3, 400, whatever. So there's an example there.
Well, Edinburgh tried to slow the game down. Didn't give them as much. They took their time when they had the ball, tried to shorten the game. They had some big runs, Edinburgh. I mean, not Edinburgh, Shepherd in the game. Long touchdown runs. Edinburgh didn't give up a lot of big passes in the game. Shepherd has a lot of. They get a lot of big plays. They may run the ball a couple times, gain nothing, then Ronnie Brown goes 70 yards for a touchdown. Last week against East Stroudsburg, they threw a hitch outside to Cook, their big receiver outside. It was a 6-yard pass. He made 2 guys miss. It was a 50-yard. Goes down as a 50-yard touchdown pass. They threw the ball 6 yards. They had the ball on Stroudsburg 30, threw a screen pass to Ronnie Brown into the boundary, caught the ball behind the line of scrimmage, a screen, went for a 32-yard touchdown. They threw the ball backwards. Like they'll throw a short pass and it'll go 60 yards for a touchdown. They were playing Cal earlier in the year. Everybody was covered. Badgett started buying time, rolling out, threw a little pass to Ronnie Brown out of the backfield. It was a 2-yard pass. He went 70 yards for a touchdown. They get a lot of yardage after the catch. And so you can't really, they didn't throw for a lot of yards against Edinburgh because they ran for a lot. And Edinburgh didn't give as many at-bats, so to speak, because they tried to slow the game down.
So we had one of our listeners had texted me earlier in the day, and this is kind of a follow-up to what you're saying about slowing down. How did the other teams attempt to slow down Badgett? Any new wrinkles defensively?
I mean,
this is late in the game here. We're late in the year.
I mean, the guy's played for 4 years. He's seen every defense, coverage, blitz. You got to mix it up. You know, some games teams try to rush 3. Some games teams try to blitz a lot. Some teams play 1 high. You see a little bit of everything. He's never played a bad game in 4 years. In all the films I see, he plays great every Saturday. So you got to kind of mix it up, and you got to play well. You got to try to create some turnovers. You got to get off the field on 3rd down. He does a good job scrambling and throwing off the scramble. There was another play against East Stroudsburg where they got everybody covered. He scrambles, buys time. He throws the ball 50 yards down the field, and guy gets wide open because he was covered, and then he starts scrambling. You got to cover guys for 8 or 9 seconds. I mean, there's not a pass he doesn't throw. But you can't, like, if you keep just giving him the same coverage, he'll tear you up. You know, but he's got the other thing is he's got a good offensive line. He's got a tackle, might be the best offensive lineman in the country, the Fisher kid. He's been a 4-year starter. Their tight end is maybe one of the best tight ends in the region. Walker, the big tight end that gets vertical.
Okay.
He's their 3rd leading receiver. Ronnie Brown has 500 yards catching the ball out of the backfield, plus 1,000 yards rushing. Beach, who's been hurt a little bit, I don't know if he's going to play.
Well, he's not on their depth chart as of today.
Right. I've learned don't pay attention to those depth charts. But they've got all kinds. I mean, like, everybody talks about Badgett, and rightfully so. But he's got great receivers. He's got a great running back. I mean, he has an All-American tackle. The tight end's probably one of the best tight ends in the region. The running back's one of the best running backs in the region. This Marlon Cook, this receiver, the 6'2" receiver they have outside, is as good as any receiver in the region. So he's got a lot to work with now.
It's not a one-man show, that's for sure. Now, one of our listeners here and fans want to know, in all your years that you've coached, even beyond here at IUP, is there a quarterback that he reminds you of somebody along the way? Or, when you're looking at his numbers, in fact, I did some homework on it. He has 151 touchdowns in his career, which just set the PSAC record. The all-time record in all divisions is 157.
Yeah. Well, he's better than, we've played against a lot of good quarterbacks.
We have.
Okay. In my 27 years here, he's without a doubt the best quarterback we've ever played against. It's not even close. In the playoff game 2 years ago, we think we're going to win the game. We make a mistake, but like I told the team today, let's just be sure of one thing. If we make a mistake, you're going to get exposed because this guy finds mistakes. You're not getting away with a mistake. Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be times where you cover the guy really well, and he's going to put the ball there like Mac does, and they're going to catch it. And you're going to have good coverage. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to go play the next play. So, you know, you can't get frustrated. They're going to make some plays, but you got to get off the field on third down when you have that I can honestly say, like, he hurt us last year in the second half with some deep throws against a very young secondary. 2 years ago, we thought we had him. We let him off the hook at the end of the game. He throws it short. He throws it deep. You know, there's not one thing you can say, well, let's take this away from him and we're going to be in good. No, because then he'll do something else. You take all the short throws away, he'll throw the ball down the field. You sit back and play deep, he'll just butcher you underneath, and they do a good job with yardage after the catch. So, like, I mean, you got to pick your poison. Mm-hmm. They're going to complete passes. They're going to make first downs. They're going to get yards. You got to play great in the red zone. You can't give up big passes. And when I say big pass, that's a 3-yard pass with a 40-yard run after it. Mm-hmm. Or it's a down the field, you know, double move against Cal. They came out, one-on-one, wide out, Cook on the corner, double move, over the top, gone. Forget it.
Yeah.
If you get beat over the if you get beat over the top, it's going to be a touchdown because he ain't going to overthrow him. Mm-hmm. It happened last year against us twice. We got beat deep over the top. He put the ball right there.
You know what I thought was interesting, Coach, is the fact the in-between seasons, before the season started, mm-hmm. the transfer portal.
Right.
He was looking at Maryland, West Virginia, and whatever, and then he, settled on staying at home because mm-hmm. I know his dad played baseball at Shepherd. So, boy, are they happy that he did. I mean, he wins the Harlan Hill Award, but he could play on any level. But we've got a pretty good one here at IUP too.
Yeah, Mac's doing a good job. Mac has really played. The other thing about Mac is he's very consistent. He hasn't played a bad game all year. I mean, he's been on every game. Like, he has not had a average game. You know, consistency from week in and week out. He's played good every game, all 9 games. Well, and that's the thing with Badgett. He doesn't ever have a bad game either. You know?
Well, that's consistency both ways. And for the fans that are coming out to see the championship, in my estimation, I'm sure yours too, they're seeing the 2 best quarterbacks in the league, both East and West. By the way, here the regional rankings came out a couple of hours ago. Shepherd is 3 in the country, but that country stuff, national, we're looking at the regional thing. Shepherd's undefeated. They're number 1. Assumption's number 2 at 7-1. A little bit of a surprise. IUP stays number 3 at 8-1. Ashland is number 4. They're 8-1. Slippery Rock checks in at 5. They're 9-1. Then you go number 6 is Notre Dame of Ohio, 8-2. Gannon's on a roll. They're 8-2. They're 7. Concord 8-2 is 8. New Haven 7-2 is 9. Kutztown 7-3 is in at number 10. And the surprise, I'm going to ask you, we're a little surprise in there somewhere?
Until you told me, I didn't even chat. I didn't even look at them. A little surprised Assumption jumped up ahead of Ashland, but Ashland played a team that only won 1 game last week. I think Assumption played somebody that had a decent record, I believe. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. I don't really get into it a whole lot.
They're all pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you got 5 teams that are either undefeated or have 1 loss. So and then you got a group of teams with 2 losses. So it's just you're gonna have to play. Somebody's gonna have to play somebody. In the playoffs, whether you're the 3rd seed, the 6th seed. I go back to West Florida the year we lost to them in the national semifinals. They were the 6th seed in the South region or whatever they call that region down there, and they played all away games and beat us in the national semifinals, and then went to the national championship game as a 6th seed with 3 losses during the season.
I forgot that.
And they played all away games.
All away games,
right.
Yeah, right. All right, we're going to be back just a moment. We have more to talk about. We have some questions here from some of our viewers and listeners, so we'll return to Hawk Talk live from the Hilton Garden Inn with Coach Paul Tortorella, and we'll return on U92radio.com and check us out on our 4 Facebook pages. We'll be back.
Show your IUP spirit and get your hawk on with help from the Co-op Store, your one-stop location for all your IUP swag and apparel. Check out Norm's Bargain area for $25 fleeces and hoodies. Logo tees only $9.99. The Co-op Store is also the alumni headquarters. IUP is always in your heart, so put something on your front and back that shows that alumni spirit. IUP logoed water bottles, coffee mugs, spirit items for your dorm or man cave. And don't forget the Oak Grove collection. Get your hawk on at the Co-op Store or find them online at IUPstore.com.
At IRMC, we have all of the necessary pieces in place to perform complex operations, including highly skilled and specially trained surgeons, their support team of experts, and advanced technology like the Da Vinci robotic surgical system. As a result, patients spend less time in the hospital, recover faster, and get treated close to home. So there's no reason to puzzle over where you should get your surgical care. The answer is right here at IRMC.
Welcome back, everybody. Hawk Talk here live from the Hilton Garden Inn. We do this every Monday between 6 and 7 o'clock with Coach Paul Tortorella. We don't have players with us because the practice that was kind of changed a little bit for you. You're not permitted by Division II rules to practice on Election Day. Is that right? So you had to put your practice in today that you would do on Tuesday.
Right. We just flipped today. Usually today's a light practice and walk through more or less, and then we obviously have a regular practice Tuesday, but we're not going to have a light practice and a walkthrough, so Tuesday's practice was today. Mm-hmm. I guess the NCAA had an initiative to not practice on Election Day, and Division II okayed it, and Division I said no.
And what did Division III do?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I mean, my question is, it takes 5 minutes to vote.
Well,
so no. Like, what's going on all day? What are these kids doing? They're in college. Like, what are they going to do all day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, so like, but I don't get, like, look, all we did was practice today instead of tomorrow. And actually, we need the rest.
And probably Shepard's saying the same thing.
I don't know what they're doing. They can practice tomorrow if they want. It really doesn't bother me. Whatever.
Here's a question, Coach, from one of our viewers and fans. Said, does it concern you that you're the underdog in this game despite the fact you're be at home?
I mean, not really. It's, you know, look, there'll be 2 teams playing at 3 o'clock tomorrow. The team that plays the best is going to win. The team that doesn't play the best is going to lose. It doesn't matter who the favorite, who the underdog is. You know, we've played only one team. We only have one common opponent, and that's Cal. And they were both close games, and, you know, we talked about that, comparing scores, this, that, and the other. They played Cal at home. We played Cal on the road. They were both nip and tuck games. They beat Cal in overtime. We beat Cal at the end of the game. You know, so, I mean, they play a different schedule. They play in the East. We play in the West. Mm-hmm. You know, they beat a good Kutztown team in a really close game. They scored on the last possession. It was tied. And then they stopped Kutztown. And then the other 8 games they played have pretty much been over by halftime, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, they've played 2 close games, and the other 8 have just been over by halftime.
The fans that come to the game on Saturday will see, we talked about the quarterback and Tyson Bagent and Max Sexton, 2 of the best quarterback, well, the 2 best in the conference. Dwayne Brown, Ronnie Brown, Marlon Cook, great receiver. Running backs are 1-2 in the league. Ronnie Brown and Stewart and DeJour. You can't ask for much more. It looks like that it was made that this should be the matchup, although I know Slippery Rock, California,
Sure,
and everybody else had something to say about this.
Well, they won every game, so they took care of their business. We went, we lost one game, but, we win the tiebreaker or whatever you want to call it, so we're playing them, and they got an All-American offensive tackle. They got 3 or 4 really good players, like legitimate players on defense, but we got good players too, so I'm biased. I think we're the 2 best teams in the PSAC, but that's just my opinion. I'm biased. I think Slippery Rock's a really good team. I think Cal's a really good team. They just lost a lot of tough games. I think Gannon's a really good team. I think Kutztown's a really good team. So there's going to be a lot of good football players playing on that field Saturday.
Being that the Division II, that the conference itself, PSAC, has East and West and has more, it's the largest in the country. Had there been talk years ago about like an A conference and a B, or division, A division, a B division? Well, does that make any sense?
Nah, I don't think it would. I think it is what it is, but the thing that people got to understand is, like when the playoffs come around, they're like, oh, the PSAC got 3 or 4 teams. Yeah, there's 16 teams in our league.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so like, it's 2 leagues, so, and if you go look at the success that the PSAC has had in the regional playoffs, I mean, there shouldn't be any argument. Slippery Rock, us, Shepherd have done well in the playoffs, probably the team not in the PSAC that's done the best is Notre Dame, recently. But, if you look the last 5 to 10 years, it's been PSAC teams, and now Shepherd's in the PSAC. So,
yes.
Sometimes I get a little, I don't understand when people say, how can a PSAC get 3 or 4 teams in the playoffs? Well, they got 4 of the best 7 teams.
Yeah.
Okay? That's as simple as it can get.
What's interesting, too, is the fact that Gannon may be the newcomer, but they've certainly solidified, and they could win a 9th game this week.
Right.
And in the East, it looks like Millersville's coming around some now, too. Seton Hill's won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
So.
And Kutztown's been very good.
Oh, they've been strong.
They've been great for the last 5 to 10.
Yeah.
There's another PSAC team. Like, I left them out. Look what they've done, the last 5 to 10 years and the success that they've had in playoffs. So, these other conferences, that's great, but there's only been really one team that's done anything in these other conferences in the playoffs, and that's Notre Dame. Just look.
Is there any way, when you take a look at the Shepherd defense, do they do anything similar to other teams that we've played?
They somewhat. They're faster than anybody we played against. They're more athletic than and that's no knock on anybody we've played defensively. They're faster and they're more athletic than anybody we've played on defense. They're not overly big. In the past, they've had some size also. They're not as big as they've been in the past, but they're fast. They're very athletic. They're good tacklers. They're physical. I think when we played them in 2019 in the playoffs, their secondary looked like I'm not saying played, but in uniform and pregame warm-up, their secondary looked like an NFL secondary. They had some great-looking guys playing in their secondary in 2019. Big, long arms, tall, and they got the same thing. Their secondary's not quite as big, but they got 6'2" safety. They got another 6-foot safety. They got a 6'1" corner. So that they've got some size in the secondary, some length, and some long arm guys. They're not quite as big up front as they've been in the past, but they're very athletic on the edges. They got 2 really good defensive ends, and their linebackers are not big guys, but they're very fast and physical. So, they're going to I think, the good teams that we've played in our side of the conference have had good defenses. But I think Shepherd, is probably the best defense we'll play this year.
Mm-hmm. They're located, for those of us that have been down there in Shepherdstown. Mm-hmm. It's a quaint place. They get great.
Right. They'll have 2,500 people here on Saturday.
How many?
They'll have 2,500.
2,500. Not surprising. Not surprising. So, how did this all come about? How the reason?
State of Maryland.
Right across the border. And
state of Maryland. Look, and they get transfers, but look how many guys they got from the state of Maryland. We don't have that reciprocal or whatever you call it. It's out of state for us. That's not out of state for them. Mm-hmm. We'd love to go down to Maryland and recruit 4 or 5 guys. Look at the Maryland guys we've had.
Yes,
they were pretty good players,
including the one guy that's been in the NFL here just recently, linebacker.
So look at the Maryland players we've recruited in the past and how good they were. But the problem is that it eats up too much of your scholarship because they're considered out of state. Mm-hmm. Shepherd doesn't have to worry about that. Just take a look at how many kids they got from, we call it the DMV, the Maryland, D.C. area. Half their team's from Maryland.
Well, they were, that's the location. They're in a good location for that, that's for sure. Question, another one that I got from one of our viewers and listeners. Are you comfortable with a shootout? Or do you want to play keep away? And I know you'd like to have time of possession.
I'm not into track meets or shootouts, to be honest with you. But if we win the game 45-42, I'll be happy. If we win the game 13-10, I'll be happy. It depends what kind of, how the game goes. If you got to outscore them, you got to outscore them. If you got to stop them, you got to stop them. At the end of the day, you got to win the game. Mm-hmm. Whatever that takes to win the game. That's some games are, you could play 2 teams that are really high-scoring teams playing in a game. And just by the way the game goes in matchups, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a high-scoring game. Then you could have 2 teams that are really good on defense playing, and then there's a couple turnovers here and there, and then all of a sudden it becomes a high-scoring game because of the matchups and just kind of how the way the game goes. So, it's hard to say. They play great defense and they score a lot of points. So, that's a good if they score a lot of points, you better outscore them. If they play great defense, you better play better on defense. Mm-hmm. So that's a great question, but I hope I answered it. I don't know.
It's easy to answer.
Yeah,
really. Yeah, when you come down to it. Well, now we're going to talk about how this IUP team got here and also what's coming up for this big weekend. And we'll do that with the coach in just a few moments. We continue on Hawk Talk. We're coming to you live. We do it every Monday between 6 and 7 o'clock here at the beautiful Hilton Garden Inn. So we'll return on U92.5 and also on our 4 Facebook pages. Be right back.
C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn is this area's best-kept secret. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, or for their post-game specials. Make your reservations for C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn at chfields.com. The Hilton Garden Inn is the preferred hotel of IUP Athletics. Located next to Miller Stadium and the KCAC, the Hilton Garden Inn is Indiana's newest and best hotel. Make your reservations today at hiltongardeninn.com.
Come join us in celebrating our grandfather Red Dowd's induction into the Indiana County Business Hall of Fame.
To celebrate, we can't think of anything better than to combine 2 of Dowd's most popular sales.
To honor his legacy and celebrate our 72nd anniversary, we're offering up to 72% off selected floor sample clearance items. Plus, save on all custom orders with every other item up to 1/2 off.
Come celebrate with us, Dowd's of Plumville and Dowd's of Greensburg.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Hilton Garden Inn Hawk Talk. Jack Benedict, Coach Paul Tortorella. Super Saturday IUP coming up this week. Just some of the things that are happening. Field hockey at 10:30, playing number 1 East Stroudsburg. The IUP men's basketball team is in action, and they open up regular season play. Now they're playing at Clarion. That's the challenge is up there. IUP not playing at home to start off the season. The men's basketball team taking on Concord. That's a 1 o'clock game, and that will be on Saturday. We'll have that game for you, and then followed by football on U92 radio. Sunday, the guys take on Winston-Salem. We'll have that game for you from Clarion. The ladies are at home this weekend. They open up the season, the women's team, against Davis and Elkins at the KCAC at 7 o'clock on Friday, and then Saturday night against Lincoln at the KCAC. So there are a lot of things going on here. Busy weekend for the IUP athletic teams. Coach, when you look at your team right now, where they're positioned, getting ready to play for the championship of the conference, and then hopefully the playoffs beyond that, and with your record what it is, when you looked at this team way back when, and you saw what you had, that there were some young players here, and then you had a transfer quarterback coming in and so on. Did you expect to be at this spot right here?
Absolutely. I thought this team could be very good. I think we are very good. We've played really 4 games that were nip and tuck, and we won 3 of them. I think we've got a very experienced offense. When you have a great offensive line, that's a start. And we have, in my mind, as good an offensive line as there is out there in the region. We lost Lockhart at wideout, but Ridley's come on to be a great number 2 receiver, if that's what you want to call him. Dwayne Brown's a difference maker. Carter's been hurt a little bit, which has been unfortunate because he's really good in the kick return game. And after the spring, I think after watching 12 to 14 practices with Mac in the spring and then preseason camp, what he's doing doesn't surprise me in the least bit. I think, we had some depth at running back, had some injuries early. I think we're in pretty, I think we've got some good running backs. Defensively, I knew it would be a work in progress because these guys were all sophomores. We played Shepherd last year, the second game of the year. We had 7 guys starting that were freshmen. It was their second game ever playing here at IUP. Connor Kelly was a transfer. It was the second game he ever played at IUP. The other linebacker was Malachi Knoll. It was the second game he ever played at IUP. Like, we were playing with guys that had only played 1 game before the Shepherd game last year.
Incredible.
We added an older player with Taylor at corner, which has been a big help for us. But, you look in our secondary, we got a true freshman at field corner. We still got a true sophomore at star. We got another sophomore at strong safety, another sophomore at free safety. Well, these guys were all freshmen last year. Darius Bruce was a true freshman. Biss is at linebacker, and he's having a great year, and everybody thinks like he's been around forever, and he kind of has, but he's only a sophomore. Fowler, who's hurt, unfortunately, he was a freshman last year. Fazell was a freshman last year. We really, on defense, our only senior-oriented group are inside down guys, really. Mitchell and Moore. Moore didn't even play against Shepherd last year. He was hurt. Okay, so... we went into that game, the second game of the year, against a great offense with a ton of talent and a ton of experience and a great offensive line and Badge, and I can go like all these other guys, plus with all freshmen playing, basically, or new players playing. So I knew it would take some time again. We didn't have a great start at Strasburg. We had 2 starters that were hurt. But we started to play pretty good and, played good in the Slippery Rock Cal game. 3 of the last 4 weeks we've played good, but we didn't play very good again. And, but I thought we would get better and better as the season went on defense because, just experience. These guys are now in their second full year on defense. I think the Frazier, freshman corners helped us, and Taylor, we got 2 new corners this year. Taylor's an experienced player that's played in the league. So, I think we're in a lot better shape now playing Shepherd than we were in the second game of the year last year.
Yeah, you bring up some really good points.
Offensively, our offensive line, other than Doberman, they all played last year against Shepherd. But we didn't have our quarterback either. Harry was out with COVID, so we were a little behind there. So there's not really a direct correlation with our team this year compared to our team that played against Shepherd the second week of the season last year. Now, they have a lot of guys back, but they got a lot of new players too, especially on defense.
Yeah, I noticed.
And they've got 3 linemen that, the center's a returning starter, the tackle, who's probably one of the best linemen in the country, is obviously a returning starter, the tight end, obviously the quarterback, a couple of the receivers, Ronnie Brown. They're kind of like us. They've got a little more experience on offense. They're a little younger in the offensive line. On defense, they're fairly young, similar to us that way.
One place that you have changed is the kicking game, the kickers.
Right.
New long snapper, new punter, and PAT. You've had to reconstruct as the season went along. Do you think you're at a good place with them right now?
The true freshman kicker is kicking the ball well. He's doing a great job on kickoffs. I think he's 5 for 6 on field goals. Our redshirt freshman punter is punted well, recently when we made the change and took that off of the kicker. And then our long snapper is a true freshman who's been dynamite, knock on wood. You wouldn't know who it is because it's those long snappers, you don't know them until they screw up. As long as they don't screw up, you don't even know who the long snapper is, so we'd like to keep it that way.
Well, I think, pardon me, all in all, the matchup is here. And, we certainly are getting ready for what should be interesting selections for Sunday, for Selection Sunday, and how that might turn out. What do you think the winner or loser of this game should both be in with no problem?
I don't know, but we're when you have us and Shepherd and the rest of the region, there's a lot of good teams. I just, that's all I can say. Whatever happens, happens. I think the team that wins this game probably has a leg up, in regards to the seeding for the region. Then what happens after that, that's up to the region and the committee and all the different things they look at. But there's going to be 7 good teams in the playoffs, whoever they are. But, really, though, right now, we're not even that's not even, they say the P word. Don't say the P word. Well, playoffs, this is taken over compared to the playoffs. It easily could have been just say if Slippery Rock would have lost. Well, we'd have played, and if we would win, we wouldn't be in the PSAC Championship game, and we'd probably be at least 3rd in the region. But we'd rather play in the PSAC Championship and see.
Well, it's something.
If you're, Shepherd's the number one team in the region, and if you're gonna, have any chance to be a contender in the playoffs, you got to beat the best team, and Shepherd's the best team. So we'll play them this Saturday and see where it takes us.
There's a lot of tradition with the PSAC championship itself, too,
right.
Which, IUP's had good success over the years.
Right.
And it's a prestige thing, too. And it's interesting because the newcomer, Shepherd, to the PSAC,
sure.
And here's the IUP has been a dominant factor along with some of the other teams of rotation, Slippery Rock and what have you. But it just proves to be a terrific matchup.
I was surprised today, not thinking about it. You know, Shepherd hasn't been in the league that long, but this is their first PSAC Championship game.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. And I know they haven't been in the league very long. We were in it in 2012 at home. Then we were in it in 17 at Westchester. And now we're here at home in 22. So I'd like it to end up like the last two did. You know, I think we won both of those games. So
I think maybe you're right there.
I hope it ends up like that, but that won't have anything to do with this Saturday's game.
Well, the big thing is to keep the guys healthy for the next couple of days. And 3 o'clock start, so what? They tell you to play whatever time they tell you to play, we show up, right?
Well, it was like today we went out there and the sun was a little bit different because of the time change.
Oh, yes.
One of the coaches said, we're playing at 3 o'clock. Look at the sun. It's going to be I said, well, it's going to be like that for both teams. Like, it's not going to be like that for Shepherd. You know, I mean, the sun might be a factor now because of the time change and the way that time of day. Because I think we were out there at 4 o'clock today, and the sun was a factor. Like, it was you know, different, which would normally be 5 o'clock because of the time change. So, you know, we don't really play at 5 o'clock. You know, if we play at 2, the game's over by 5. We play at noon, the game's over at 3. We did play at 4 o'clock early in the year, but, you know, it's a totally different time of the season.
You go about an hour and a half practices for the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we've been going at this for over 2 months now, so you don't want to, you got to practice and prepare and be ready to play, but you don't want to over practice and leave it on the practice field, and then come Saturday you don't have anything left in the tank either. So we got to do a good job preparing this week and staying fresh and healing up, and so that when we play Saturday we can take our best shot.
I know you didn't see it, but because you guys were in the locker room at halftime, the performance at halftime of the combination bands and everything they want, and then the post game, of course, it was spectacular. You know, it was goal line to goal line.
I watched the post. I left the field and was going up to my office and was meeting Matt up there, but I stood outside and watched the post game deal for at least 15-20 minutes before Matt got there.
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed. It was really good. It was real good.
I asked Greg Drahoschak, who's with the band years and years ago, and then dealt with these band directors. We watched from press box. How did they organize? How did they get all this?
They were out there on Friday practicing with all, and Saturday morning with all the older alumni. They were out there, and I'm thinking, man, this has got to be. This is a logistical nightmare, but like it seemed to be really done very well. And you know, Zach comes over right before we come on the field and gives me the handshake, and so we went from there. We go from there.
All right, we're looking forward to it. Keep them going for this week. Keep them healthy, and we'll see what happens, and then go from there. But one thing at a time. And kickoff is at 3 o'clock coming up on Saturday. Good luck to you.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, Coach Tortorella with us. Glad to have. Thanks for your input, you folks that have given us questions, viewers, listeners, and what have you. Remember, we have a big weekend coming up with these IUP athletic teams and the PSAC Football Championship at 3 o'clock against Shepherd University. For the coach and for our crew, this is Jack Benedict bidding you a pleasant good evening. Hawk Talk here live from the Hilton Garden Inn.